Hi, everybody. My name is Keenan Hardard. I'm a biology professor at Minnesota State University Mankato. I study cancer research and bioeducation research. So today we have my giant cohort of students, their exam 1, 2, and 3, 3 being the final. We're going to show you how to use some of Prism's transform and kind of data wrangling type of stuff. So if I want to say, hey, I take this data right here and I want to transform this data, let's say that I want this in proportions, for example. I can say right here, I can do a kind of a custom setup here. If I want, I have some user-defined stuff, you have your standard stuff. And again, what I could do is say, what if I wanted to say y divided by k? So my value divided by that, instead of raw percentages, what if I did just want the decimals? We can click OK there. Perfect. And this is going to change depending on what you want, depending what fields you're in. But really quick changes like that are going to allow you to kind of avoid having to go all the way back into a spreadsheet, for example. So that's my transform. I can also, for example, look at that. It's going to graph it just like that. And instead, it's in the proportion decimal version. Instead, this is the full percent version. So that's kind of one of the capabilities. And like you saw in the transformation, you have a lot of potential there. And like I showed before, you can do some user-defined stuff. But let's also look at some other great tools in here. So if I want to say analyze data, data exploration summary, you can always do descriptive statistics. That's going to give you that big column format. So if we do this and say descriptive stats, and you can find this in there, you can add all this good stuff in here. You can get different means, things like that. You go in here, this is going to save you a ton of time because to do all of this in the spreadsheets would have taken you, making every function, things like that. Prism, so long as you got everybody in a column, done just like that. It's beautiful. So moving back into some good data analysis stuff, one of my favorite things is actually going to give me some row statistics. This is actually going to go row by row in this case, instead of like the columns like I showed you. Here's what I want with this. And this can change too with the customization. I can do a total if I wanted. I can do mean, median. I'm going to do a mean since I do have 3. It can depend on what error you want here. Again, I only have 3 of each person's exam. Again, so don't be too sad I'm using standard dev here, but that's okay. And again, I can create graphs of this. I can do all kinds of fun stuff. So let's take a look at what these row stats look like. Number 1, this is going to show me right on here how I'm looking. Number 2, I did have it make me a graph, and it made me this really good looking like descension right here. Now I did arrange these to descend, but I really like this. And this is actually something I really like showing, for example, my class and saying like, hey, like this is kind of what the stats are predicting, things like that. So really nice again. Let's go back to analyze, explore summary. I want to, let me find, I want to go ahead and say, row titles, data exploration, row stats. Perfect. I kind of want to compare baseline is my main thing. And I got to find, there it is, remove baseline and column math. There we go. Okay. So remove baseline and column math function is going to take us to this screen. What I want is, for example, I want to say, let's say that my first, I want to do columns in this case. So I want to take columns and I want to say every other data set, or I want to select, hey, who's my baseline right here? So what I'm saying in this case is exam 1, I want to say, all right, that's your baseline in class. How much did you change versus exam 2 and versus exam 3? Now, the good news for me is that these are all in the same relative zone of a percent, right? These are all 100% to 0. I could, if I didn't have that, I could actually make, a percent value custom right here. But in this case, I'm just going to do the raw setup. So I'm also going to click right here, remove baseline itself from the results because I don't want to graph group A minus group A, which is going to be 0 every time, right? So here's how to label everything. I'm going to go ahead and just say column, A minus B, B minus A. We could save title only. I'm gonna go ahead and try this. So if we push this through right here, this is making the assumption that, for example, student 1, this column is blank because I removed it because that's what we're comparing and getting these numbers from. So student 1 had an exam score that was whatever number it was. It got 18% higher on exam 2, and it was 16% higher than this old exam score on exam 3. So now what we can do though is you can see who fell, for example, Oh, shoot, a lot of fallers. Who gained, though? Who fell really hard? Dang it. And et cetera, et cetera. So having this baseline set up here is going to be pretty nice. You can technically graph this too. I like to take this data sometimes. I don't know if this is going to give me exactly what I want, but let's go ahead. I do kind of want to see, yeah, mean with standard deviation of my total differences here. So what this is going to give me is essentially difference from exam 1 to exam 2%. Yeah, it kind of fell right there because there's my mean right there. And then differences of exam 1 to the final exam. Yeah, it kind of fell again. But this is a very clean, very quick way to move data, subtract it, divide it, whatever you want to do from a certain set of baseline data and say, what changed? So thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.